thing standing in Miami's way has been Miami for so many years, and like that's just what it's been, And so, do I think that Miami under Mario can duplicate what Clemson or Dabo did at Clemson? I don't. Off the top of my head, I'm going to say no, because, and I've talked about it on here before about how many things all went perfectly at Clemson, one after another, of talent acquisition in terms of recruiting and smaller numbers too. Because if you look at their classes, you're talking 17 and 18, 22 maybe. But everybody hits their ceiling for development. All of the coaches are great. Even when somebody like Charlie Scott or Jeff Scott leaves, you have somebody else who steps in and is as good, if not better, on that side of the ball. I mean, you have generational quarterback play that is elevated with each consecutive quarterback. You don't really have any injuries of consequence, because even if you do lose a guy like a Mike Williams, a wide receiver, you have another 5-star. You have, these other guys, and there's no drop off because that one guy who leaves or is out for whatever reason is not crippling to the running of the organization. There were and there's more. Right. But all of those things during this golden age run for Clemson have been perfectly aligned with perfect execution and perfect luck until this season. Right. But it is hard for me to sit here and think that everything will be that kind of perfect in all of these different varying kind of ways for Cristobal and Miami for a time such as Dabo at Clemson. Do I think that Cristobal can elevate things? Do we think that, again, that we can, win a couple ACC championships, compete for, contend for college football playoff, and whatever happens down the line in 5 years or, whatever, maybe even extending that out a little bit more? I absolutely do. But the same, I'm going to say no, but a reasonable facsimile that seems to be similar enough that also, supports or fulfills the desires of the fan base, I think is entirely possible.
In roughly the last 10 years, there are 3 programs in this country, Alabama, Ohio State, and Clemson, that are winning over 90% of their games. That's not even sustainable long term. So it's just not probable to happen. It's just
right. I mean, it could be only if you shrink the time horizon, right? So if you're talking about those 3 teams, right, that's not when the time horizon is extended to 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years. But in a 5 to 8, like a 3 to 5, 5 to 8 kind of a window where, like, okay, we're not looking at the timeline all the way across, but we're going like this, it can be. So, like, if you're talking about like that peak, that little bit something, I think that's possible because we're seeing these 3 teams. However, we're also only seeing it from those 3 teams. So while it is possible, I would say it is definitely not probable, because then somebody else would have found a way to be able to do that.
Yeah. Like if somebody asked me, oh, will any one of those 3 programs win 91% of their games for the next 20 years? I wouldn't even analyze the situation. I would just say no, because it's just statistically highly improbable to continue that. Alabama and Ohio State have the best winning percentages of all time, and it's only 73%. It's just not sustainable statistically.
Right.
All right. One last question here. We appreciate it coming in from Steven, who asks, Cam, why isn't Winston Moss ever mentioned in the defensive coordinator talk? He is a Cane and has NFL experience as both coach and player.
Yeah, we did a Beyond the U on Winston Moss a couple years ago during that content stream. We talked about it, not from my brain about like his resume or anything, but maybe he doesn't want to be an on-field coach at the college level, and that's the thing where we're talking about with Joe Brady, who leaked it. Basically, his agent leaked it through the media, like he is looking to stay in the NFL, and pretty much because he hates recruiting, because it's 24/7, 365. You got to be on the road. You got to be contacting these kids. You got to be doing these things, and some people love that. Like Cristobal obviously does, like there are guys at the college level who do, and there are other ones who don't, and especially someone like Winston Moss, who's, worked in the NFL for a long time. I do know that he's coached in the NFL for a while, or did for a while. Maybe coming down to the college level and adding on that ancillary kind of job responsibility, because that is important, because you have to really nail your talent acquisition, because if you don't have the players, then you can't play plays. You know what I mean? So maybe that's a reason. But yeah, I don't necessarily think that. Like I said, I think that might be the reason why his name, Winston Moss, is not ever really brought up in the conversations. And then, when in the past we stuck with college coaches, like you bring in Manny Diaz, did pretty well at defensive coordinator. He brings in, when Manny Diaz became coach, he brought in Blake Baker, who took over for him at Louisiana Tech. So you figure, okay, cool, like this guy's done a great job replacing me. Coached the all-time career-leading sack maker in college football history, in Jalen Ferguson at Louisiana Tech. So let's bring him in and see what we can do. And then when that didn't work, he took the sticks back himself. So there's not really been like that many times recently that we're really looking on the. And then before Manny Diaz, it was Al Golden who brought his former college teammate and good friend Mark D'Onofrio in. So like, there's not been many times where it's just been like a wide open, hey, anybody who's possibly available for this job, we're going to discuss and we're going to look at, or things like that. That hasn't been the case, really. It's been very coordinated and connected to the head coaching and everything. So I think this is really the first time in damn near a decade. Because Al Golden's first year was what, 15, 14? No, sorry, that was last year. His first year was 13. So like, since then, and we're in 2021 going 22, so almost a decade, and anything. And I know when I looked at that Winston Moss was coaching in the NFL at that time, so and doing pretty well. So and if we consider the fact that we now know concretely that we all surmised and said that Miami, while having money, was choosing to be frugal. You put those things together and like, you want me to come back to the alma mater, but you want me to take a hometown discount, and you want me to add on all these other things, and you want me to be away from my family, and I'm good. I'm going to be up here in Green Bay where I was coaching, or he was coaching, and everything, and do that. So not that he's without the resume and the experience to do the job. It just hasn't really kind of fit together for whatever reason.